Hollywood A-listers and British royals are paying tribute this morning to Gene Hackman as mystery surrounds the death of the Oscar-winning US actor and his wife. The 95-year-old, best known for his Academy Award-winning roles in The French Connection and Unforgiven, was found dead along with his wife Betsy Arakawa and their dog inside their home in the US state of New Mexico.
There was no immediate indication of foul play, but authorities are yet to provide a suspected cause of death. Let's bring in North America Bureau Chief Jade McMillan now. Good morning, Jade. What do we know about what's happened? Obviously, some scant details on the deaths of both Gene Hackman and his wife so far.
Well, we've heard from the Sheriff's Office in Santa Fe, Bridget, where Gene Hackman and his wife, Betsy Arakawa, had been living. Police there have said that their bodies were discovered in their home yesterday afternoon, local time, that they were in separate rooms of the property and that the body of one of their dogs was also discovered there. Now, the cause of their deaths is still being investigated, but police have said that they do not suspect foul play here, that there is no indication, for example, of any visible wounds. American media outlets are also reporting that police and utility services haven't found any obvious signs of a gas leak. So this investigation underway now. It is still in its early stages. Police are continuing to search the property and autopsies are also being carried out.
And Jade, how is Gene Hackman being remembered? He's been a celebrated actor for many decades.
Yeah, he was a two-time Oscar winner. He was considered one of the best actors of his generation, starting his career in the 1960s and going on to appear in more than 80 films before retiring in the early 2000s. He met his wife, Betsy Arakawa, who was a classically trained pianist, in the 80s, and they moved together to Santa Fe, where they'd been living for some time. We've heard from the well-known filmmaker Francis Ford Coppola, just one of many in the industry who has paid tribute today. He directed Gene Hackman in the 1974 film The Conversation. He's described him as a great actor, inspiring and magnificent in his work and complexity. I mourn his loss and celebrate his existence and contribution. Prince William has also posted on social media. He has described Gene Hackman as a true genius of film who brought each and every character to life with power, authenticity and star quality. Now, these deaths have been reported just days out from this year's Oscars ceremony, where you'd expect that further tributes would be made.
Jade, thanks very much.
Now, of course, we are in South Australia, and there is some big news out of South Australia this morning because the embattled Whyalla steelworks is thought to be more than $1 billion in debt, with former owner GFG Alliance claiming to be owed about half of that. News Breakfast's very own Adelaide reporter Rachel Merritt is here with us this morning. Rachel, it is lovely to see you in person.
Oh, good morning.
Hi, Rach.
Bridget, so lovely to be able to be here in person this morning too.
Isn't it? But plenty happening in South Australia. Like, this is just an issue that's affecting so many in the community. What's the update we've heard this morning on just how much might be owed?
Yeah, so this news came to light overnight, and what the ABC understands is that creditors of the Whyalla steelworks are being owed more than $1 billion. This, of course, comes more than 1 week after the works was plunged into administration. There was special legislation which was rushed through state parliament to allow the government to seize control of the works. Now, what GFG is claiming is that the company and its subsidiaries, which they take the form of separate contractors as well as the Tamor coal mine in New South Wales, that they are actually the steelworks' largest creditors, and they are the largest creditors, and they are owed $500 million of that more than $1 billion debt. Now, the ABC understands that the remaining sum is owed to GFG as well as their other creditors, including Golding's contractors, which recently told shareholders that they are owed $113 million for mining services. This number of $1 billion is obviously much more than the figure of $300 million that has been reported previously previously in the media. So we'll keep across these details as they come to light.
And a
We
lot of
certainly
people,
will.
yeah, a lot of people are going to be trying to have their hand out to try to get some of that money, whatever is left over, as that goes into administration. Thank you very much, Rachel. And we will be joined a little later in the program by the South Australian Premier, Peter Malinauskas, right here in Adelaide. Charles is, of course, the responsible one on this show. He's holding the fort.
He's a great South Australian too.
Great South Australian.
We're missing you, Charles, but you're holding the fort back for us there in the Melbourne studio alongside Catherine. And Charles, you've got some more of the day's news for us there.
I do. Thank you, Bridget. The Tasmanian Premier isn't ruling out the state's newly built Spirit of Tasmania ferry being used to house Ukrainian refugees in Scotland. The ferry has been docked in Scotland since November because of delays building a berth at its home in Devonport. As ferry operator TT Line explores leasing options, a report from local news site Pulse Tasmania says the Scottish Government is in advanced negotiations to lease the ship as a home for people fleeing the war in Ukraine. TT Line says negotiations are ongoing and confidential. A clean-up has begun on an abandoned Australian base in Antarctica that's been littered with hazardous waste. Wilkes Station has been unoccupied for more than 5 decades, but this site still has old barrels of oil and buildings with asbestos, much of it buried under ice and snow. The clean-up was ordered after a French inspection last year deemed the situation a clear risk. The Vatican says Pope Francis remains in good spirits and his condition continues to improve. It says the 88-year-old spent the morning alternating rest with respiratory physiotherapy. He then attended a private prayer gathering in the hospital, received the Eucharist and then dedicated himself to work activities.